Next type of linear data structure is linked list. Students, linked list is also known as a one-way list. So firstly we will discuss why there is a need of linked list if we have another type of data structure, that is array. So why there is a need of linked list? Now students, we are using the linked list in order to avoid the memory wastage. In case of array, suppose if I am creating the array with name A and the size of this array is 100, so that means this array with name A can occupy the 100 locations in the memory in order to save the contents. Now suppose during the runtime only user require 50 data elements in order to store the value. So that means out of 100 data elements, 50 data elements if user is storing, so that means there is a wastage of 50 memory locations. So that means there is a wastage of 50 memory locations, and this array will be stored in the primary memory, and primary memory is anyway smaller in size as compared to the secondary memory, and that memory is crucial for other programs also. So that means if there is a wastage of the memory location within the primary memory, then other programs will not be run in that small memory. So other users are unable to run their programs in the memory. So first reason to use the linked list is to avoid the wastage of memory, and second reason is suppose the array size is 100 but at runtime user needs to store the 110 elements. So user is unable to store next 10 elements because only there is a memory reserved for the array of only 100 elements. So user is not able to store more than 100 elements within the memory. So again, that is the second reason we are using the linked list. Third reason is in case of the arrays, if we have to store the 100 elements, then we have to occupy the 100 consecutive memory locations within the primary memory. So if suppose in the primary memory there is no memory location with 100 consecutive memory location is available, so in this case we are not able to store our program. So this is the third reason we are using the linked list. Now students, see, linked list is a one-way list where the data elements are stored in the linear order and the data elements are known as a node. Okay students, so linked list consists of the number of nodes, and each node is divided into two parts. First part is the info part and second part is known as the link part. So that means this is the node which is divided into two parts. This part is known as the information part, while this part is known as the link part. Now students, info part contains the actual information about the data, and link part contains the address of next data element within the list. So basically node is divided into two parts, information part and link part. Information part can contains the actual contents that user wants, and second is the link part, means the address of the next data element where it is stored. So this is the structure of node, where node is divided into two parts. First part is the information part and second part is the link part. Now students, in order to save the information and the link of any data or any node, then we need two arrays. One array is used to store the information part, while second array is used to store the link part. Why we need two arrays in order to store the information and the link? Because link is always in the numeric form, because link is the address. So address is either in the hexadecimal form or in some other numbers, while information may or may not be in the numbers. And that is the property of the array. In one array we can store only one type of data. Either we can store the number values, we can store the character values. So here the information may or may not be the number. Either information here is in the form of characters, in the form of string. So that means we cannot use only one array in order to share both the information as well as the link part, or in order to say both the information and the link part we cannot share same array. That's why we need two arrays in order to store the information as well as the link. Now students, we can see the linked list with the help of example. Before that, we have two more variables that are used in the linked list. First one is known as the start variable and second one is known as the avail variable. Now students, start variable means this variable can contain the address of first element of the linked list. So the address of the first element is in the start variable. Avail variable means it contains the address of the first empty memory location within the array. First empty location within the array. So the address of first empty location within the array is always with the avail variable. Now we can see all these things with the help of example. Now suppose we have a linked list with 5 nodes. So that means in order to create a linked list we have to create 5 nodes. So here this is the first node, this is the second node, this is the third node, fourth node, and this is the fifth node. Now suppose in this linked list we have the elements which are stored with name A, B, C, D and E. So that means this is the information part, because this is the actual data that is stored in these nodes. So here in the first part we can add the information A, B, C, D and E. Now students, second part will always contains the address of the next node. Now before that we can create two arrays. One is for the information part, while second array we can create for the link part. And we can divide this array suppose into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 parts. 4, 5, 6, 7. Again link part we can divide it into 10 parts. Now students, this is the first element that is stored in the linked list. So that means the address of this data element will be always with the start variable. So we have to use the start variable here, which can contain the address of first element. So suppose this A element will be stored at 7th memory location in this array. So we can write A here, and in start variable we can write 7. So that means at the 7th memory location first element of first node will be stored. So we can use this link to represent the node. Now students, in front of A we have to add the address of the next data element. So after A the next data element is B. Now suppose B is stored at memory location 3. So in front of this, in the parallel array we can update the address at the same memory location. So here A is stored at the 7th memory location, so that at this 7th memory location we can write 3. So 3 is the address of B, and same we can write here. So that means A contains the address of the next data element, and the next data element is 3. So 3 at third memory location B is stored. Now this B will contain the address of C. Now suppose C is stored at memory location 8. So in front of B we can write 8. So 8 is the address of C. Now this is C. So here also we can update the address of C. Now students, suppose after C we have to store the D, and D is at memory location 10. So in front of C we can write 10, and also we can update 10 in the link part of C. Now students, at the 10th location D data element is stored. So suppose the next data element, that is E, that is stored at the first memory location. So first memory location we have to update in the parallel array. Okay student, so 1 we are updating here, and at the first memory location E is stored. Now you can see in this linked list there is no further node that is connected after E. So that means this is the end of linked list. There is no further pointer which can point to the next node. So that means this is the end of the linked list. So we can represent it by cross, and this is also known as a null pointer. That means this is the end of the linked list, and there are no further links to the next node. So in front of E we can write, either we can write 0 or we can write cross. So this is the null pointer. That means this is the end of the linked list. So students, this is the memory representation of the linked list. Memory representation of the linked list. Now after this we can see how we can insert the data, or how we can insert the node within the linked list, and how we can delete any node from the linked list. So first we can see insert a data element into the linked list. So how we can insert the node into the linked list? Suppose we have to insert a node which contain the data element F, and we have to insert this node within B and C. So how we can insert the node within B and C? We have to make the link of this B with this, and with this to C. So that means in B we have to update the address of F, and in F we have to update the address of C. This is how we can insert the data element or the node within the linked list. For that, see students, this is our array. Next variable is avail variable. So avail, I told you, avail variable contains the address of the first empty memory location within the array. So in this array, first empty memory location is 2. So that means at the currently the avail variable contains the address 2, because this second location is available to adjust or to add or to insert the new data element. So students, we can check the avail part. So that means we have to insert this F within second location. So that means initially we have to update 2 here. So in front of B, now we can delete this A and we can update the address of F. So here what we can write? We can write 2, and 2 contains the data element F, because this is the very first empty memory location within the array, and within the very first empty memory location only we can insert the data element. So this is F. Now in F, in the link part of F, we have to update the address of C, because we are inserting F within B and C. So in order to provide the link between F and C, we have to update the address in the parallel array of F. So C is at memory location 8, so that means in front of F we have to write 8. Now this is how we can store the, or we can insert the new node within the linked list. And here we have to write 8. So this is the insertion of data element within the linked list. After this, we can see the deletion of node from the linked list. So how we can delete the data element from the linked list? Now you can see this with the example. Same example we are taking. Suppose we have to delete this node from the linked list. So we can represent it with the dotted box. So this data element or this node we want to delete from the linked list. Now students, you can see if we want to delete this node from the linked list, then we have to delete this address of the D from the C node, and directly we have to give the address of the D data element within the C, because now there is no need of this D, so there is no need to maintain the address of this D data element within the node. So that means in front of the C we have to update the address of E. And what is the address of E? E is at location 1, so that means here we have to write 1 and this node we have to delete. And this node we have to delete. And in front of C we have the data, we have the link part which contains 10, so that means we have to delete it from the memory location and we have to update it with 1. And same the D entry we have to delete from the memory. So this is how we can delete the data element from the linked list. Now you can see C node contains the address 1 and at the 1 memory location there is E, and E contains the null pointer, that means this is the end of the list. So this is how we can delete the data element from the linked list. So it is very easy to delete or insert the data element into the linked list, but in case of arrays, in order to insert and delete the elements, we have to shift the data elements either in the upward direction or either in the downward direction. But here in case of linked list, only we have to update the pointer address of the 2 or 3 nodes in order to insert or delete the data element from the linked list. Now students, we can see the advantages and disadvantages of the linked list. Advantages and disadvantages of the linked list. So first advantage is insertion is not time consuming. Now students, we can insert any node within the linked list either at the start, at the end or in the mid. So insertion is very easy. In order to insert any node within the linked list, simply we have to update the link part of the previous node. Next one is deletion is not time consuming. Same for the deletion. In order to delete any data element or node from the linked list, we have to update the link of the previous node. So that means in case of insertion and deletion, there is no need to shift all the data elements in the backward or in the forward direction. Likewise we are doing in the arrays. Next one is there is no memory wastage. So students, in case of the linked data structure, there is no memory wastage because it is the dynamic memory location. That means according to the requirement of the user, the memory is allocated to the user. So that means there is no wastage of memory. Likewise in the arrays, we can allocate the memory during the compile time, so there are the chances of the wastage of memory in the arrays, but there are no chances of the wastage of memory in case of the linked list because we can allocate the memory dynamically during the runtime according to the requirements of the users. Next is no need of the consecutive memory location. So that means in case of the linked list, we can save the nodes at the different locations, and with each node we can provide the link or pointer to the next node. So that means with that process we can store the data elements at the different locations. Likewise in array, what we can do, if we want to store the elements with size 50, so that means we have to allocate, or operating system has to allocate 50 consecutive memory location in order to save this array. So that means that is not a problem in case of the linked list because we are not required the consecutive memory locations in order to store the 50 elements. Next is linked list can grow and shrink during runtime. That means if we can insert any data element within the linked list during the runtime, so that means linked list is automatically grows. And if we can delete any data element from the linked list, so that means it can automatically shrink. So that is during the runtime. Next is linear data structures such as the stacks and queues that can be implemented using the linked list. So that means if we want to use these data structures within the memory, so these data structures can work with the help of the linked list. So linked list is used to create the stacks and queues within the memory. So these are the advantages of the linked list. Now come to the disadvantages. First disadvantage is if pointer lost, that means the connection with the next node will be lost. So students, each and every node contain the link or the pointer to the next node. So if by any chance if any pointer lost within the node, so that means the connection with all the next nodes can be break. So there is a discontinuation with all the connected nodes if any of the pointer or if any of the link is lost. Next is use extra space in order to store the pointer. See, in case of arrays we can only store the data elements or the actual information. But in case of the linked list, with the actual information we have to store the address also. So that means in order to store the address we require more memory. So there is a wastage in order to store those pointers within the memory in case of the linked list. Next is in linked list we can move forward only. See students, in a linked list there is only one pointer. That pointer can points to the next node only. So that means we can move from one node to the next node in the forward direction, but there are no chances to come backward, means to the previous node. So that means we can only move forward, but backward transaction is not possible in case of the linked list. Next is cannot be randomly accessed like arrays. See, in arrays by using or by giving the index number we can directly access the data element. Suppose if we have the array with 50 data elements, and if we want to access the first data element, then directly we can write a of 1. So that means from this array we can access the data element which is at index number 1, but that is not possible in case of the linked list. So we have to randomly access the so we have to sequentially access the data elements if we want to use any. Only sequential access is possible, so not used for the binary search. See, in the binary search, by directly finding the mid of the list we can jump to the mid, and by comparing the data element with the mid we can delete either the left side or the right side. But here in case of the linked list, the random access or directly we cannot jump into the mid because it follows the sequential access order. So always the linked list starts from the first, second, third, fourth, fifth like this. Next one is for traversing, it takes more time. See students, in the array directly by using the index number we can jump to the particular memory location. So we can access the data elements in case of the arrays directly, but in case of the linked list we have to traverse each and data element by checking the link from each and every node. Suppose this is the linked list with three data elements 1, 2 and 3. So if we want to access this or if we want to traverse this list, so we have to go to the first data element or the first node. Then in front of the first node we can check the array, and by checking this array we can go to 2. Then after this we can check the link part of this, then we can go to this, and after that we have to check the link part of this. So that means it takes time in order to traverse the data elements in case of the linked list. But in case of arrays, if we have these three elements then that are in this location 1, 2 and 3, so that means we can easily traverse, we can jump from 1 to 2, then 2 to 3. So it requires less cycles as compared to this. So here, because in this case with the data elements we have to check the link part also. So in this part we have to check two arrays simultaneously, but here within the same array we have to check the elements. So that means in case of the linked list, for traversing it takes more time. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of the linked list. Trees are the non-linear data structure where the data elements are stored in the form of the hierarchy. So students, trees can contain all the data elements, and all the data elements are connected with each other, but these are in the form of the hierarchy. So you can see this example. This is the example of tree where each and every data element is connected with each other in a non-linear order, but in the form of hierarchy. Now we can see the terminology of the trees. So in the terminology we can see each and every term that is related to the tree. So the first important term that is related to the tree is root. So root means the node which is always at the top of the tree, or the node which is having no parent. So here in this example we have A as a root node because this node is at the top of the tree and A is having no parent. So that means this is the root node for this tree. Next one is the subtree. Subtree means the different trees within this main tree. So here for this big tree we have different trees. So first subtree for this root node is this tree. So that means this tree is known as a left subtree for A. And for this A, this is the right subtree. Next is, you can see for this G there is no left subtree, there is only right subtree for this G. Next one is F. F is having two subtrees. One subtree contains only one element, that is K, and another subtree can contain again one element, that is L. Next one is the parent node. Parent node is the node which is having the number of childs. So see students, in this tree which node is having the number of childs? First one is the root node. Root node is the node which is having two childs with name B and C. So that means A is the parent node for B and C. Next we can see D. D is again the parent node because it is having three childs with name G, H and I. Next is the G node. So that means for G there is only one child, that is M. So these are the parent nodes for this tree. You can write another names also. And after parent node we have next term is, that is child node. Child node is a node which is having the parents. So that means here in this case B and C are the child nodes for A because B and C are the child for parent A. Next is D. D and E are the child node for B parent. So D and E is having one parent, that is B. Next is G, H, I are again the child node for which node? For D parent node. So we can write one or two examples. B and C are the child nodes for A. Next is D and E are the child node for B. G, H and I are the child node for D. Next term is leaf node. So students, leaf node is also known as a terminal node, or is also known as a terminal node. So leaf node is a node which is having no further child. So you can see in this tree these are the leaf nodes M, N, H, I, K, L. So these are the node which is having no further child. So that is known as the leaf node, or we can say a terminal node. The node which is having further no childs connected with it. So in this tree we have H, I, M, N, K and L are the terminal or the leaf nodes. Next one is the non-leaf nodes. Non-leaf nodes are the node which is having any of the child, that is equivalent to the parent node. So in this tree the nodes which is having further nodes that are connected with a particular node is a non-leaf node, or the node which is having the child is a non-leaf node. So in this tree we have non-leaf nodes are D because D is having three further connected nodes. So non-leaf trees are D. Again E is a non-leaf tree because with E there is only one child, that is J. F is the non-leaf tree because again further there are two childs are connected with it. So these are the non-leaf nodes. Next term is the sibling. Siblings are the nodes that is having one parent only. So all the nodes which is having common parent is known as the siblings. So in this example you can see G, H and I. The G, H and I are the siblings because they have only one parent, that is D. But we cannot say G, H, I and J, these are the siblings, because these are the cousins, because G, H, I have the parent D and J is having the parent E. So all these nodes have different parent nodes, so that means these are not the siblings. Siblings are the nodes that is having they can share the common parent. So in this example G, H and I is sharing this common parent, so that means these are the siblings. B and C are the siblings because they are having a parent A. K and L are the siblings with common parent, that is F. Next is students' ancestors. Ancestors means all the nodes starts from the root node to that particular node are the ancestors. For example, for this D, the ancestors are B and A. So from starting from the root node, all the nodes that are on the path of this D, in order to connect the D with the root, that are known as the ancestors. So all the nodes that are from the root node to that particular node are the ancestors. So for D, the ancestors are B and A. For E, the ancestors are B and A. For N, the ancestors are J, E, B and A. So for N, the ancestors are J, E, B and A. So that is the ancestors. All the nodes starts from the root to the particular node for which we want to check the ancestors. After this we have the descendants. So descendant contains all the nodes start from the particular node add to the end of the tree. For example, if we want to check the descendants of G, then for G the descendant is only M. So that means descendant is always after the particular node and ancestor is always before the particular node up to the root node. Next is for E. For E, the descendants are J and N. For C, the descendants are F, K and L. So these are the descendants of this particular tree. Now after this, students, we can see the level of the tree. So level means the total height of the tree start from the root node. So the level of root node is always 0. So root node is having level 0 always. So students, if we can see the level of this tree, then the level of this tree is root node is always starts with level 0. Then we have level 1 with values B and C. In level 2 we have 3 nodes D, E and F. In level 4 we have 6 values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and in level 2, level 3 and in level 4 we have only 2 values with name M and N. For this tree the level is 4. So that means the root node is always at the level 0. Next one is degree of the node. So students, now degree of the node is the total number of childs of the particular node. For A, the degree is 2 because there are only 2 childs for A. Next is D. For D, the degree is 3 because D is having 3 childs with name G, H and I. For M, the degree is 0 because there is no further child that is connected with the M. So that means degree means the number of childs of that particular node. Now students, maximum degree of this tree is the maximum number of child of a particular node. So maximum degree of the tree means the maximum child of any of the node of this tree is the maximum degree of the tree. So in this tree, the maximum nodes that are connected with any of the nodes are only 3. For A there are only 2 childs. For B there are only 2 childs. For D there are 3 childs. For E only 1 child. So maximum nodes or maximum child is having with only D. So that means the degree of this tree is 3, because the maximum degree of this tree is 3. Now, after degree, we can see the depth of the tree, or we can say that the height of the tree. So, students, depth or height is means level plus 1. Depth or height means the maximum level of the tree. So that is that we can find with this formula, that means level plus 1. So for this tree the level is 4, so we can add it with 1 and the result is 5. So that means for this tree the height or the depth is 5. That starts from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So depth or the height of this tree is level plus 1, that is 5. So these are the terminologies that are related to the trees. Binary tree. Binary tree is a type of tree, that means in the binary tree the maximum degree is 2, means there is no parent with more than 2 childs. If the parent is having the childs more than 2, that means that tree is not known as a binary tree, because in the binary tree the maximum degree is 2. That means the parent is having maximum childs with number 2 only. Now students, in the binary tree it is divided into 3 parts. So first part contains the data element itself, second is the pointer to the left subtree, and third is the pointer to the right subtree. Why there are only 2 pointers? Because there are only maximum 2 nodes, one on the left side and one on the right side. No more than 2 nodes are allowed for any of the particular node in case of the binary tree. Now you can see the example of binary tree. For a binary tree, this is the binary tree. You can see this is the binary tree. Why? Because for A there are only 2 childs, so that means the degree of this tree is 2. So this is the binary tree. Now for B there is further child, that is E, and for C there are 2 childs with name M and N. So now again this is a binary tree. Why? Because for B there is only 1 child. So for B the degree is 1. That means that is less than 2. Next for C there is a degree 2. That means again the degree is 2. That is not more than the 2. So this is the binary tree. If we can connect one more node with the C, so now the degree of C node is 3. So that means now this is not the binary tree, because for the binary tree the maximum degree is 2 only. Means for each and every node there are only 2. There are at most 2 childs only. Now students, in binary tree now we can see the relationship between the maximum number of nodes or the depth of the tree. This is very important. This will come in the MCQ part also. See, this is the binary tree. A, B, C, D, E, F and G. So this is the binary tree. Now we can see, using this example, the relationship between the maximum number of nodes and the depth of the tree. Now depth means the level of the tree plus 1. So here this is level 0, level 1 and level 2. So for this tree the depth is 2 plus 1, that is 3. So the depth of this tree is 3. Now in order to calculate the maximum number of nodes for this binary tree, we have to use this formula, that is 2 raised to power n minus n, where n is the depth of the tree, tree. Now you can put the value of n is equal to 3 in this formula. So 2 raised to power 3 minus 1, that is 7. So that means maximum number of nodes in order to create this binary tree are 7 only. So you can calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So in order to create this binary tree, the maximum nodes that are required are 7. Minimum nodes we can use with any number, but maximum to maximum nodes in order to complete this binary tree are only 7. If we are adding one more node here, then that means that is not the binary tree, because in a binary tree if we are adding one more node here, so that means this is not the binary tree, because for this node now the degree is 3, so this is not the binary tree. Or if we are adding any one node here, so again this is not the binary tree. Now students, that means the maximum number of nodes in order to maximum number of nodes according to the depth of the tree are 2 raised to power n minus 1. So sometimes examiner will ask you, if the depth of the tree is 5, then calculate the maximum number of nodes. So maximum number of nodes if the depth is 5 is 2 raised to power 5, 2 raised to power 5 minus 1. So that is 31. So you can see in this example, this is depth 1, then after this we have 2 nodes, this is second level, then D, E, F, G, again 2 nodes for this, 2 nodes, 2 nodes, 2 nodes. Now for this again 1. Now you can see, now this is the depth 5 for this tree. Now you can calculate the nodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 and 31. So that means in order to complete this binary tree, maximum number of nodes required are 31. So this is how you can calculate using this formula 2 raised to power n minus 1. Now students, we can see how we can represent the binary tree in the memory. See, this tree you cannot directly save in the memory. For saving the binary tree, you have to use other data structures. With the help of those data structures, you can save this binary tree in the memory. So either we can store this binary tree within the arrays, or we can use the linked list if we want to store the trees in our memory. So the memory representation of the binary tree is by sequential representation, or second is the linked list representation. So first one is the sequential representation. So students, in case of the sequential representation, we can use only one array, and in this array we can store all the nodes. So suppose this array is divided into number of parts. So here we are dividing this array into number of parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So that means this array is divided into the 13 memory locations. Now you can see the example. Suppose this is the binary tree A, B, C, D and E. This binary tree you have to store using the sequential representation in this array. Now students, in order to calculate the location of the left child, you have to use the formula that is 2 into k. And in order to calculate the memory address or the memory location of the right child, you have to use this formula, that is 2 into k in the brackets, then plus 1. Now you can start with first node. While you are adding the first node, then you can put the first node at the first memory location of the array. So here this is the root node, and after root node always you have to add the left child in the array, and after left child you have to add the right child. So after A we can add B in the array, and then we can add C in the array. So in order to add B and C in the array, we have to start with this value, that is k. So initially we can set the value of k is equal to 1. So if the value of k is equal to 1, then we can put this value in this formula, that is 2 into k. So 2 into 1 is the second memory location. So in the second memory location we can add the left child. So left child is B. So at the second memory location we can add B. And after this, the k is equal to 1, we have to put in the formula, that is 2 into k plus 1. So here we have 2 into 1 plus 1. So here after calculation the result is 3. So that means at the third memory location we have to add the right child. So C we have to add at the third location. Now students, after adding left and right child into the memory, then we can jump into the next level. So in the next level, again in order to add the left and right child, we have to put the value of k is equal to 2, and that value is incremented by 1. Now for left side, again 2 into 2. So 2 into 2 is 4. So that means at fourth memory location we have to add D. Now in order to add the right child, we have to put it in the formula, that is 2 into 2 plus 1. So the result is 5. But at fifth memory location there is no element. So either we can represent it with dash or we can write cross. So that means there is no right child at this level. And after this, for adding the left and right child of the C parent, again we have to increment the value of k by 3. Now k is equal to 3. Again put it in the formula, 2 into 3. So 2 into 3 is 6. So at 6 location we can add the left node of this C parent. So left node of this C parent is nothing. So again we can put dash. And after this we can add the right child. For right child again we can put it in the formula, that is 2 into 3 plus 1. So here after calculation the memory location is 7. So that means at seventh memory location we can add E. So this is how we can add the number of elements of any binary tree into the array. So this representation is the sequential representation, because in sequence we can add all the data elements in the array. So this is the sequential representation of the binary tree. Now we can see the linked representation. Second type of representation is the linked representation. So students, in order to represent the binary tree in the linked list, we do not require the consecutive memory locations likewise in the sequential representation, because for the sequential representation we need a consecutive memory locations in the memory in order to save the tree. But in the linked representation, different memory locations at different locations are also used in order to save this tree. Now students, suppose this is the tree which we have to save in the linked list. So this tree is divided into 3 parts. First is the data element, second is the left subtree, and third one is the third subtree. So that means initially we have to represent this tree in the form of nodes. So initially we have root node, that is A, and A is having left as well as the right subtree. So that means left subtree is located or situated or is stored at some memory location. Similarly, C subtree is located or saved in some memory location. So that means from the left side there is a link to which node? To the B node. So here we have the B node, and on the right side there is a link to the C node. So this is the C node. Again students, now for B there is only one child, that is the left child. So that means again there is a pointer to the left child of the D. So here D is the left child of the B. So that means the pointer is from the left side. Now further there is no child for D. So that means this is the end of the pointer. Now next is there is no right child for the B. So here we can also put the null pointer, because there is no further node that is connected on the right side of the B. Now for C you can see there are both left and the right child. So that means from the left side there is a connection to the E node, and on the right side there is a connection for the F node. Further for E there is no left and the right child, so both sides contains the null pointer, while for F there is only left child. So that means on the left side again there is a pointer for next node, that is G. Again for G there is no left and right child, so we can put it here null pointer. And for F there is no right pointer, so so that means we can put cross here. So students, this is a two-way list, so that means it is also on the left side and on the right side. So this type of linked list is known as a two-way list. And the earlier linked list that we have studied is one-way list, because there is only one pointer on the forward side, but there is no backward pointers. But in this case there are forward as well as the backward pointers. Now see, this is a linked list representation, means all the nodes are connected with each other using the pointers. Now in order to save this we need three arrays. One is used to store the data element, second is used to store the address of left side, and third one is used to store the address of right side. So this is the information part, this is the left part which is used to store the left pointers, and this is the right part which is used to store the right pointers. Now suppose we have a start variable, and start variable starts from 5. So that means a data element is stored at 5th location in this array. So A is stored here, and in the parallel two arrays we have to update the address of B and C. So suppose B is stored at 7th location and C is stored at 1. So that means in the left side of the array we have to store in parallel of A 7, that means 7 is at memory location B, and on the next array, on the right array, we have to update the address of C. So C is stored at memory location 1. So that means 7 at 7th memory location B is stored, and at 1th memory location C is stored. Now after this, for B we have to update the address of B, because this is the left side, so only we can update the left array, but there is no need to update the right array because there is no further next right child for the B. So see students, for B you can see there is only D. So D is suppose stored at memory location 8. So in front of B in the parallel array here we can write 8. So 8 is for the D, and in the next array we can store here cross. So that means cross means there is a null pointer, means there is no right pointer for the B. So that means if there is no right pointer for the B, that means there is no further node that is connected with the B on the right side. Now students, for D we have to update cross on both the sides because there is no left and the right child for D. So that means in front of this location in both the arrays we have to put cross. Okay students, now we can see here for C there are both left and right child. So suppose E is stored at 3rd memory location and F is stored at 9th memory location. So in front of C we can write here 3 and here we can write 9, because left child, that is E, stored at memory location 3, and right child with name F, that is stored at memory location 9. So on the left array we can write 3 and on the right array we can update the address 9. Now students, after this E is having no right as well as the left child, so in front of 3 on both the arrays we can write cross or we can put 0. So that means now there is no left and right child for E, so there are no pointers that we have to update in these two arrays. Further, for F there is no right child but there is a left child. So that means for F there is no right child, but here we can update the address. So suppose it is at memory location 2. So G is at memory location 2, so we can update the address here. So we can write here 2 because G is the left child for F and G is stored at memory location 2. Now students, G is having further no pointers, so we can put the null pointers here. So this is how we can represent the binary tree using the linked list. In the linked list, in order to represent the binary tree, we need three arrays. One is to store the data element. Second array we need to store the left pointers, and third array we need to store the right pointer. So this is the linked representation of the binary tree. Traversing of binary tree. Students, traversing means to process each and every node of the binary tree, or we can say access each and every node of the binary tree is known as a traversing of binary tree. So we have three different types in order to traverse the binary tree. First is known as the pre-ordered traversal. First is known as the pre-order traversal, second is known as the in-order traversal, while third is known as the post-order traversal. So students, in case of pre-order traversal, initially we can traverse the root node, and after root node we can traverse the left subtree, and after left subtree we can traverse the right subtree. Next is in-order traversal. In case of the in-order traversal, initially we can access or we can process the left subtree, and after left subtree we can process the root node, and after root node we can process the right subtree. So next, third is post order. In case of post order, initially we can traverse the left subtree, after left subtree we can traverse the right subtree, and finally we can traverse or we can process the root node. So that means pre-order is also known as node left and right. So N represent the root node, L represent the left subtree, while R represent the right subtree. So here the sequence is like root node, left subtree, right subtree. In order is also known as L and R. So that means initially we can process the left subtree, then root node, and then the right subtree. So it is known as the L and R. And finally post order is also known as L, R, N. So here we can traverse left subtree, then right subtree, and finally we can traverse the root node. Now students, in our portion we have only in order traversal. So every question that comes in the final exam you have to solve with the help of in order traversal. It is not mentioned in the exam, but obviously you have to solve it with the help of in order traversal. Otherwise your marks will be deducted by the examiner. Now we can see the different expressions which we can represent using the binary tree and with the help of the in order traversal. So see, you can see the example. These type of examples 110% that will be comes in your final exams for 3 marks. So students, suppose there is an expression which you have to convert in the binary tree, that is 3x plus y divided by 4x minus 5 raised to power 3. So this type of expression you have to represent in the form of binary tree. For that, see students, this is the binary tree, this is the expression which is having two parts. This is the left subtree, this is the right subtree, and this is division symbol is in between. So that means division symbol you have to put in between, and on the left side there is an expression that is 3x plus y. So you have to represent 3x plus y on the left side, while you have to represent 4x minus 5 raised to power 3 on the right side. So further you can see 3x plus y. So in 3x plus y, again plus is in the mid, y is on the right side, while 3x on the left side. So you can write here plus, and on the right side you can write y, and on the left side there is 3x. So 3x means again 3 into x. So 3x means 3 into x. So again if you can see here, so in between there is cross, and on the left side there is 3, and on the right side there is x. So again you have to write cross, and on the left side you can put 3, and on the right side you can put x. So this expression is like this: 3 into x plus y divided by. So this part is completed. Now we can see on the right side. On the right side, this is the expression. This expression is having raised to power 3. So that means on the right side you have to put the raised to power, and on the left side you have to write this expression, that is 4x minus 3. So for raised to power in binary representation you can use this symbol. So arrow, upward arrow you can show, and on the right side you can write here 3, and on the left side you have to put this expression 4x minus 5. So you can see this expression 4x minus 5. So in between again there is a subtraction symbol. So you can put it here, and on the left side the expression is 4x. So 4x means 4 into x. So between 4 and x there is multiply. So you can write multiply here. 4 you can write here, and x you can write here. So 4x minus, and on the right side there is 5. So you can write 5 here. So that means this is the expression which is used to represent this expression. So this is the binary tree which is used to represent this expression using the in order traversal. Now students, we can see another example. Now second example, suppose we have 2x plus y multiply by 3 2x plus y multiply by 3 divided by 4x plus 4. So suppose this is the expression and this is equivalent to E. So the equation is E is equal to 2x plus y into 3 divided by 4x plus 4. Now see this expression, students. If equal to is given in the equation, then always on the left side this is the left subtree, and on the right side this is the right subtree. So always you have to put equal to in between. So on the left side you have to write E, which is on the left side, and on the right side this is the whole expression which you have to represent using in order traversal. So students, in between again further this expression is divided into two expressions. One is this and second one is this. So in between you can use this division symbol, and on the right side on the left side you can draw this expression, and on the right side you can draw this expression. So now see students, again in this expression is divided into two parts. One is 2x plus y, while second part is 3. So in between you have to put cross, and on the left side you can write plus, and again on the left side you have to write cross, then 2 and x. So that means 2 into x plus on the right side y. So 2 into x plus y multiply by, and on the right of this you have to put 3. Now students, divided by, after this is the expression, that is 4x plus 4, where in between the symbol is plus, and on the right side we have value 4, and on the left side we have value 4x. So further 4x is divided into 4 into x. So in between we can write cross, and on the left side we can write 4, and on the right side we can write x. So this is the representation, or this is the binary representation of this particular equation. So these type of questions always comes in the board's exam, so you have to practice these type of questions. So again I will take one more example. Next example is a plus b into c divided by a into b minus c plus a. See students, in this expression this is the left subpart and this is the right subtree, and in between there is a symbol of division. So initially the root node consists or contains the data element, that is the division symbol, and on the left side we have value a plus b into c. Now you can see a plus b is in the bracket, so that means this is the one expression, and second expression is c, and in between there is a symbol, that is multiply symbol. So we can put multiply here, and on the left side we can write, again in this expression in between there is plus, and on the left side there is a, and on the right side there is b. So in between there is plus, and on the right side we can write a, on the left side we can write b. Now on the right hand side of multiply there is c, so we can write c here. Now students, Left side is complete. Now come to the right subtree. In right subtree, the expression is A into B minus C plus A. So firstly, you can put multiply here, and on the side of multiply, left side there is A. Now students, A into, now you have to put here plus. So plus, okay students, and on the left side of the plus there is symbol minus, and on the left hand side of the minus there is B, and on the right side of B, minus there is C. So B minus C plus, and on the right side there is A. So the expression is A into B minus C plus A. So this is the representation, this is the binary representation of the expression A plus B into C divided by A into B minus C plus A. So this is how you have to represent the these expressions in the form of the binary tree. After binary tree, next type of tree is known as the complete binary tree. So in case of complete binary tree, each level of the tree is completely filled. That means each node per level is having both the left as well as the right child, except for the last level. In the last level, each node will be saved start from the left hand side. That means you can see this in the example. Suppose we have a complete binary tree with root value, that is C, and after that for A we have two values, that is B and C. B is the left side and C is the right hand side. For B we have D and E, and for C we have F and G are the child. So this is the complete binary tree, because in this tree we have three levels, that is 0, 1 and 2. So last level is level number 2. So this level is having 2 child, and again this level is having 2 child, and this level is having 2 child. So that means this is the complete binary tree, because each node is having two child. So students, so this is the complete binary tree. And second example of complete binary tree is if we are drawing this tree A, B, C, D, E and F. So again this is a complete binary tree, because all the nodes at the last level is start adding in this tree from the left hand side. So if we are adding this F on the right hand side of the C, then this is not a complete binary tree, because in the complete binary tree each and every node at the last level we have to add start from the left hand side. So we cannot make this location vacant. So that means this is not a complete binary tree. If we want to make this binary tree as a complete binary tree, then we have to add this F on this side, because at the last level each and every node start filling from the left hand side. So we are not able to, or we are not allowed to leave any empty space within the level. So these are the two examples of the complete binary tree. Now next type of tree is extended binary tree. So students, extended binary tree is also known as a two tree. So in case of extended binary tree, each node is having either 0 child or 2 children. So that means each node should contain 2 children, or the node is having 0 children. If the node is having 0 children, so that means that node is known as the external node. And if any node is having the 2 children, that means that node is known as the internal node. So in order to complete the binary tree, we can fill the empty subtrees with the external nodes. Now you can see this with the help of example. See, suppose this is the tree A, B, C, D, E, F and G. Suppose this is the tree. Now we have to convert this tree into the extended B tree or the 2 tree. So we have to fill the empty subtree with the null value. So that means we have to fill this empty subtree with the external node. And external node in case of the extended binary tree we can represent with the sphere. So that means this part or this subtree of the B node, we have to replace this with the null node, or we can say that we have to replace it with the external node. Next one is again for F there is no node, so that means we have to replace both the left and right child with the null nodes, or we can say that external nodes. Again for D we have to replace it with the external nodes, and for E there is only left child, so we have to put one null node on the right side of E. So this is known as the extended binary tree, where A, B, C, D, E and F, these are the internal nodes, while the boxes that are representing the null node, which is also known as the external node. So now you can see in this example each node is having either 0 child or 2 children. For A we have 2 children, that is B and C. For B we have again 2 children, one is D and second one is the null node. So this is also the children, but these children do not contain any value. Next is C. C will also contain two children, that is E and F. Again D is having 2 children without any value. So these are the 2 external nodes or null nodes. For E we have 2 children, one contains the value G and another one is the null node. For F again we have 2 children with empty value. So this is the extended node, or we can say that this is a 2 tree. Stack and queue. So stack and queue are also the linear data structure. So students, we can discuss both stack and queue one by one. So first is stack. So stack is a linear data structure in which the elements are inserted and deleted at the top of the stack. So that means suppose this is the stack, and in the stack we have elements, that is 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So in this stack we have 5 elements, and for this stack this is the top of stack. So if we want to delete any element from the stack, then only we can delete that element from the top only, and if we want to insert any element into the stack, then again we can insert the element from the top of the stack. Now students, stack works on the principle of last in first out. That means the element which is inserted in the stack at last, that can be deleted from the stack first. So that means the last element which comes into this memory, that will be deleted first by the user or first by the operating system. So that means the element that comes at last will be come out from this stack at first. Now students, for example, you can see the daily life example. Suppose we have a stack of books. So the book that we have added at the last, if we want to remove any book in the middle, then we have to start removing the books from the top. So one by one we can remove the books from the top in order to reach that particular book which we want to delete. So that is the principle of LIFO that works on the stack memory. Now students, for insertion in stack we can call push operation if we want to insert any data element into the stack, and if we want to delete any element from the stack, then we can call it pop operation. So push means to insert the data element in the stack, and pop means to delete the element from the stack. Now student, this is the top of the stack and this is the stack. Suppose we have to insert data element 16 into the stacks. So where we can insert that data element, we can always insert the data elements at the top. So here we can add 16 here. So now this is the top of the stack. So top of the stack always represent the first element of the stack. So now the current position of the top of the stack is 16. We can always insert and delete the data elements from the top of the stack. Now after this, suppose we have to delete data element 13 from this stack. So in order to delete 13 from the stack, initially we have to remove 16, means we have to pop 16 value, and afterwards we have to pop 15 and then 14, and finally we can pop the 13, and again we have to insert all 3 values again into this stack. So you can see this with example. Now initially, in order to delete 13, we can pop 16. So after 16, Now the remaining values are 15, 14, 13, 12 and 11. And after this we have to pop 15, then the remaining values are 14, 13, 12 and 1. And finally we can pop 14, so now remaining values are 13, 12 and 11. And at last we can pop 13, so final values are only 12 and 11. So now the top of the stack is 12. Now again we have to insert 14, 15 and 16 from the top of the stack. So final values are 16, 15, 14, 12 and 11. So now the top of the stack is at the 16th data element. So this is how we can insert and delete the data elements into the stack. Now we can see the queue. Now students, again queue is a linear data structure which can use the principle of first in first out. That means the data element which is inserted at first will be deleted from the queue at first. For example, we can see the daily life example. For example, the queue in the bus stop. Okay, so the passenger that is at the start of the queue will be come inside the bus at first, and the passenger that is at the end of the queue that goes inside the bus at the last. So that means that works on the principle of first in first out. The data element which is entered in the queue at first will be removed from that queue at first, and the data element which goes into the queue at last will be removed at last. Now students, see, queue is a linear data structure where insertion is always at the rear side while the deletion is always at the front side. So we can see it with the help of example. Suppose we have a queue with 5 elements A, B, C, D and E. For this queue, this is the front element while this is the rear element. So this is the very first element which comes into the queue, and this is the last element which comes into the queue. Now if we want to delete, see students, deletion is always from the front and insertion is always from the rear. Now suppose if we want to insert any data element into the queue, then always the data element will be inserted from the back side. So suppose in this example we have to insert F, so F will be inserted at the end. So now the queue will be, after insertion of F, now the queue will have 6 elements, that is A, B, C, D, E and F. Now the rear element is F while the front element is A. Now suppose after this we have to delete C and D from this queue. So in order to delete C and D from the queue, we have to remove A, then we have to remove B, and then we can remove C and D. So final is, after removing C and D, now values are E and F only. Now students, after removing C and D, we have to insert A and B again, because we are not going to delete A and B values. We have to only delete C and D. So again we have to insert A and B. So from where we can insert A and B? We can insert A and B from the rear side. So again we can add A and B. So A and B are now at the last of this queue. So this is how we can insert and delete the elements from the queue. So in short, in stack, if we want to delete any element or if we want to insert an element, so that is possible from the top of the stack only. From the top only we can remove the data elements, and from the top only we can insert any data element. In case of the queue, if we want to delete any data element, that the element will be deleted from the front side, and if we want to insert any element into the queue, then the insertion is always possible at the back side. So back side in case of queue we can call it a rear part. So this is all about the stack and queue.